Hi, everyone. We are so grateful to be presenting for the Community of Education series. We're here with the Go Green Initiative to talk about Senate Bill 1383, Contamination and Waste Reduction. My name is Sonika Newadkar, and I'm a senior at Amador Valley High School, and I'll pass it off to Aryan to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aryan Jain. I'm a junior at Amador Valley High School, and I'll pass it on to Julianne.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julianne. I am a senior at Amador Valley High School. And Samara?
Hi, everyone. I'm Samara Mehta, and I'm a sophomore at Amador Valley High School, and I'll pass it off to Hira.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hira Raghavan, and I'm a senior at Foothill High School, and I'll pass it to Manya.
Hi, my name is Manya Raghuram, and I'm a junior at Foothill High School.
Perfect. All right, next slide, Mallory. Let's begin today's presentation with a quick overview of our agenda. First, we'll begin with some background about the Go Green Initiative. Next, we'll talk about the problem of waste contamination and its relevance to Pleasanton. We'll also discuss state-level action regarding this issue. Finally, we will go through about how our community members like yourselves can help to do their part in your everyday lives. Next slide. First, we'd like to introduce the Go Green Initiative. The Go Green Initiative is a nonprofit founded in 2002 by Jill Buck that aims to teach communities and students about environmental stewardship. In the past, we have worked to educate Pleasanton residents on clean energy and water conservation. More recently, we have been working with the City of Pleasanton to connect our community to resources about a new state bill regarding organic waste. Through community presentations, creating social media posts, developing printable materials, and hosting a booth at the farmers market, we reach thousands of Pleasanton residents. Next slide.
Let's begin by discussing waste contamination. Currently, Pleasanton divides its waste materials into three separate streams: the garbage, mixed recycling, and organics. The garbage, which uses a black lid, contains materials that all go to the landfill. The mixed recycling, which uses a blue bin, has materials such as bottles, cans, and plastics 1 through 7 that can be reused and put into new materials. All the items in the mixed recycling bin should be loose, clean, and dry. Finally, we have the organics bin, which is also referred to as the green waste. This bin has a green lid, and all food waste, plant material, and food soiled papers should go into this bin. A key problem is contamination, or when items are placed in the wrong bin, which produces methane. In California, 41% of green or organic waste that should be going into the compost actually goes in the garbage. This means that the organic waste is all going to the landfill, which produces methane emissions that accounts for 10% of all greenhouse gas emissions from human activities. Contamination isn't a normal problem people think about when climate change comes to mind, but it is a massive issue and steps need to be taken to address it. Next slide. Here's a video from that our 2018 GGI interns took of a recycling facility where employees are sorting through contamination. Since the recyclables move down the line very quickly, workers can easily get injured if any hazardous materials like needles or glass get mixed in.
To your right, you can see the workers sorting the trash out from their recycling. Sometimes people put things in their recycling bins that can cause injury or unsafe conditions to these workers. This is why it is so important to properly sort your recycling. By only recycling the proper items, we are showing respect and compassion to these workers. They are an important step in this recycling process, and we shouldn't make their jobs any harder than necessary. This is a different angle to show how much material passes through the MRF every minute. Those workers are only human, and they can't remove every single piece of trash that people have put in their recycling. This becomes important later when PGS tries to sell the product.
The issue of contamination goes beyond normal climate change and greenhouse gas emissions and directly negatively impacts our community. E-waste from lithium-ion batteries can cause fires in Pleasanton garbage service trucks and facilities. These fires damage equipment as well as potentially harm workers. Moreover, the conditions for workers who are sorting through the waste are extremely dangerous, and repairing damaged machines can also be very costly. As the work of sorting becomes more and more labor-intensive, residents also may experience an increase in their monthly garbage rates.
Next slide, please. Okay, so some additional impacts due to contamination can be seen in recycling, compost, and landfill. First, let's look at contamination and recycling. When there's an increase in contamination in our recycling, buyers are not willing to purchase that recycling from facilities. The LA Times reports that this is leading to a buildup of scraps in warehouses, parking lots, and landfills throughout the state, and the image shown is a perfect example of this buildup. Contamination in our compost also has negative impacts. When non-compostable items end up in the compost, not all of them can be filtered out. So some of these items go through the composting process, but do not break down. Compost is used to grow our food, so when glass and plastic contaminate the compost, it also may contaminate our food. Also, compost is used to care for our many parks and sports fields in Pleasanton. If there is any glass in the compost, this can be dangerous for those who visit our parks and play on our fields. There are also impacts on the marketplace, as farmers and other consumers do not want to purchase compost that is contaminated. In addition, contamination in the landfill produces a number of hazardous byproducts, such as methane, a gas that is 86 times more powerful than carbon dioxide. That lowers our air quality. Methane is produced when green waste rots in an uncontrolled manner. For example, when it's rotting in a non-compost facility. Next slide, please. So we do understand that we just threw a lot of information at everyone. So if the audience has any questions, feel free to unmute and say them or put them in the chat, and we will do our best to answer all of them. We have a question in the chat, so I'll read it out loud for all of our presenters to hear. So there's been a question asked, can we have people spot check bins the morning before they are picked up and levy fines for improper sorting, $100 for first offense, $10,000 for second offense? If one of the presenters wants to take this question.
And you can always kick it to me if you need to, just let me know. Does anyone want to answer that question?
If no one knows the answer, we can give it to Jill.
All right. Well, and we also have Laura Page, who's with the City of Pleasanton, who could also jump in on this. But you know, there will come a point where the city does have to do some inspections. Laura, do you want to talk a little bit more about what that process might look like? I know it's still a ways out.
Yeah, we're still refining that process, but it would look like basically an inspection that would happen on the garbage can, sort of either at the same time or prior to the regular routes of trash pickup. So the regular routes, when they come to pick up the trash, they would also do trash inspection.
Okay, I will continue with the questions in the chat. I do see Joe has unmuted, so if you would like to go first and ask your question, go ahead. And if it's an accidental unmuting, I will continue. Okay, I will continue asking the questions. So we have another question. Will you be going over what should and shouldn't be placed in various bins? Yes, we will be going over that later in our presentation. That's a great question, though. Where can we bring batteries and light bulbs to be disposed of? If anyone wants to answer that amazing question, please go ahead.
I believe the question by Annette and Amy will be answered later in the presentation, so we will for sure go over that later.
Okay, and we have another question / comment. We don't have a green bin since we don't have enough green waste for weekly pickup. Is there any way we can bring green waste for composting?
See, Laura, do you want to take that one?
Yeah. So if you already have Pleasanton Garbage Services, you can contact them and they can ensure that you have the proper bin. So you should have that bin actually. So you can contact them and they can deliver that to you.
And we also have our last question, not exactly related to waste, but for our team. So Jeanette is asking, can our team go out and talk to or educate businesses and schools, etc.? So Julianne, if you want to talk about your experience with schools.
Yeah, so later in the presentation, we're actually going to go over what Goku Initiative has done in the past over the internship with outreaching in communities and schools. And so we'll definitely go over that.
Okay.
I have a question, if you can hear me.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. I always wondered on the recycling. So things have to be washed out and no food in them at all?
Correct. Yes, they need to be clean and dry in order to be able to recycle it.
And on plastic bottles, the cap on top, is that recyclable?
I don't believe they are. If someone else can take that.
I got that one if you want to. They're not under most circumstances, but you can leave them on and put them in your recycling bin. And I just want to let everybody know, this is just like a 7th inning stretch. This is just a timeout. We've got so much more. So these are excellent questions. And I think many of them we're about to get to. And then if you have more, we're here. We're here for it. We're here for you. So these are great questions. And so maybe we can just hop on into the next part.
Yes, there will be plenty of opportunity for questions. So next slide, please. So in order to decrease waste contamination, Senate Bill 1383 or SB 1383 is a California law that will be put in place on January 2022 in order to decrease greenhouse gas emissions by controlling green waste contamination and redistributing edible food. This requires residents and businesses to properly sort their waste. If Pleasanton does not comply with SB 1383, we will face the risk of incurring fines. That is why we're here to help you sort your trash. When you correctly sort your trash into the 3 bins, you are helping reduce contamination and complying with SB 1383. Next slide, please. In order to comply with SB 1383 and other California laws, community members need to sort waste properly. Green waste collection bins are available to all residents and businesses. School districts, businesses, and residents are required to use a 3-bin system for proper waste sorting.
Next slide, please. So what goes where? Waste sorting guidelines vary between counties and even cities. However, city web pages can be a great resource for finding out which items go into which bins. These images can be found and printed from the PGS website. If you're ever confused about what a specific item which item goes into which bin, please download and reference the Alameda County Resource app for more information. We'll also be doing a short demonstration of how to use the app in the presentation, so stay tuned. You can also find the location of the nearest hazardous waste collection facility, which items are collected curbside, and much more. For further guidance, we have included a link on this slide, the Stop Waste website, where there are additional resources on where to dispose of what materials. Next slide. Now let's talk about some common mistakes people make when they sort their waste. Starting with green waste items, people often forget that soiled paper products such as napkins, paper towels, cardboard boxes, and they are compostable. Also, napkins or paper towels used with chemical cleaners cannot be composted and must instead be disposed of in garbage bins. Wax boxes for produce are also another commonly missorted item. While soiled cardboard is compostable, boxes with coating made of polyethylene or synthetic materials to protect from grease are not compostable. Frozen food boxes are also unfortunately not compostable or recyclable due to a non-compostable coating to prevent freezer burn. These need to go into the garbage bin. It is also important not to line your green waste bin with plastic bags as they are not compostable. The best choice is not to use a lining at all for any of your bins to reduce waste. However, if you like to use a lining for your green waste bin, you can use paper bags or BPI certified compostable bags. A common misconception that we like to highlight is the belief that pet waste are compostable. Green waste from both Pleasanton residents and businesses are sent to the Central Valley Composting Facility to be further processed and turned into sellable compost. Testing is done to ensure the safety of the compost to be sold to farmers and other clients. Unfortunately, fecal waste from pets contaminate the compost as they may bring in the bacteria Salmonella. This makes it unsafe for clients to handle and use for growing fruits and vegetables that will later be consumed by people, maybe even you or me, which is why pet waste should always go in the garbage. Next slide, please. In Pleasanton, paper, bottles, cans, jars, and cardboard can all be recycled. You can also recycle all plastics 1 through 7. Plastics 1 and 2 are more preferable because there is a larger market for them. Additionally, plastic that is wet and greasy cannot be recycled. For dirty and greasy items, make sure to wash the item in the sink or put them in the top shelf of your dishwasher and then dry them with a towel before recycling. Unfortunately, paper bags and other soft plastics are also not recyclable because they may jam the machines of the recycling facilities and result in costly repairs. Alternatively, use reusable tote bags, paper bags, or opt to skip a bag altogether. Paper bags are easily recycled when cleaned and can be composted when soiled with food. This also means you should avoid using plastic bags to line recycling bins. If you do line your recycling with a plastic bag, you must separate it from the rest of the recycling and throw it into the garbage bin. Next slide. Now let's play a quick game to test your knowledge. When an item shows up on the screen, please unmute or type in the chat whether the item goes into the recycling, compost, or garbage bin. Let's go ahead and get started. So which bin do eggshells go in? Yes, you're right. Eggshells can be composted and they're also really good for your garden, so you can put it there as well. Next item. Blueberries. Yes, correct. Blueberries can be composted. And next item. How about cardboard trays?
Garbage.
Actually, those would go in the recycling, correct, because they're made of cardboard. And next item. Aluminum foil.
Recycle.
Yes, recycle, yeah. And it'd be best if you crumple it into a ball so it's easier to sort when it's recycled. Next item. Styrofoam container, takeout container.
Garbage.
Correct, yes, it goes in the garbage. Paper bag.
Compost.
Yeah, if it's soiled, it can go into the compost, but if it's clean, then it can go into the recycling. Next item. How about leftover fish bones? Yes, correct, compost. You guys are really good at this.
All right. What do you think about a Kit Kat?
Garbage.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a trick question because if there's chocolate inside, then you can compost that, but the wrapper you can throw in the trash. And then chopsticks.
Recycle.
So clean chopsticks you can recycle, and then dirty ones you can throw in the compost. And then a greasy cardboard pizza box. Yeah, compost, because it's food soiled, you can throw in the compost. And then a juice box.
Goes in trash.
Trash. And then some moldy bread.
Compost.
Compost. And then broken glass. This is a tricky one.
It goes into the trash.
Right in the trash, yeah. And then plastic bags, also another tricky one.
Trash.
So you can either actually throw them in the trash, or we'll talk about this a little bit later, but you can also drop them off at a local grocery store where they have drop-off bins where they can properly be recycled. And then for a book,
Recycle.
yeah, so you can either donate it or recycle it. Yeah, good job, everyone.
All right, now, do you guys have any questions about how to sort your trash?
Okay, we have a question in the chat. What about plastic bags that have a recycling number on them? Should it go to the recycle or blue bin, or trash the black bin? If any of our presenters want to take this question, or Jill.
Yeah, so plastics with the number 1 through 7 can be recycled.
And someone is wondering about the plastic plant pots. I'm assuming they mean the ones where the already grown like little seedlings, they come in like the plastic cups, if anyone knows where those go.
Recycle.
Joe, you are a gold star student tonight, because if they have a 1 through 7 on the bottom of them, they can go in the recycling. Now, I want to just back up really quickly on the bags. Yes, they can be recycled if you take them to a place that collects bags, like your grocery store or Rite Aid or CVS. And we're going to cover in just a moment where to find those locations, but they do not go in your recycling bin. We don't want any bags, even if they can be recycled, to go in your recycling bin. Yes. The only way to recycle those bags is in a special collection place outside, a store that takes them back. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, and that's just because our machines can't handle soft plastics because they get stuck in our machine. So, I mean, they can be recycled, just not at our facilities. Okay, so someone is wondering about e-waste, and Michael is correct. E-waste is collected specially, and it does not go with the rest of your waste. And we will cover that more later as well. Okay, I think we will wrap up questions for now and move on. Thank you.
Knowing how to sort e-waste is a point of confusion for many Pleasanton residents and businesses, as we saw in the chat. So e-waste should not be put in any bin. Instead, it should be placed in special locations. For example, non-lithium or non-rechargeable batteries must be taped on both ends and placed in a Ziploc bag on top of your recycling bin to reduce the risk of fires. Lithium-ion batteries must be dropped off at specific facilities that can be found on the PGS website. You might be wondering about needles or medicine or bicycles. If you're ever confused about where to place some rather odd objects, such as the ones just mentioned, or need to find drop-off locations, please download the Resource Stop Waste app available on both Android and iPhone, which we strongly recommend to all Pleasanton residents and businesses. You may also visit resource.stopwaste.org. Alternatively, if you cannot find an answer on Stop Waste, you can visit the PGS website or contact them directly. By taking a few minutes to do a little research about where your waste goes, we can all take a step towards less waste contamination. Just to clarify, for the Stop Waste app, it was specifically created for our are county. So all of the answers on there are county specific and can give you some really good information on where to drop off those otter objects. And next slide.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now so you can do a quick demo of the resource app. Okay, so basically, like we mentioned earlier, the resource app is a really helpful tool when we want to find out what specific materials go into which bin. So this app is designed for Alameda County, but it also works for Contra Costa County and the city of Palo Alto. So at the top over here, there's a section called What Do I Do With? And this is where we can put in the item in question. So for example, I can put in maybe a plastic bag. I know that's a topic that we covered tonight. And then you can put in your zip code as well. And then when you scroll down, it says Pleasanton accepts this item in your curbside garbage container. And then it gives a quick little description at the bottom as well. And it says that any dirty or wet plastic bags belong in the trash, but there's also an option for a grocery store drop off as long as the bag is clean and dry. So let's do another example. Maybe we could do styrofoam. Okay, so same thing with this. This actually goes in the curbside garbage container to be picked up. And then finally, we can try electronic chargers, maybe for your phone. So like we mentioned in the previous slide, this is sort of a special case. It's known as hazardous waste. So we can't actually dispose of it into any of our 3 bins. Instead, it requires proper disposal at a garbage facility that collects it. So if you scroll down, the resource app provides a map of all of the locations that allow for this type of pickup. And it also has the addresses listed on this side. So the closest one for us that collects this hazardous waste would actually be the Pleasanton transfer station in Bush Road. So in this demo, we learned a little bit about the resource app, and it's very helpful, especially if you have it on your mobile device. If you want to look up an item very quickly and you want to know exactly which bin it goes into, or if you have to, what specific procedures you have to do with it. So if it's a battery, for example, you would put it in a plastic bag and on top of your recycling bin. So the resource app can really help with this. And we can resume the slideshow.
So as a local Pleasanton resident, there are many small and simple steps that you can take to ensure compliance with SB 1383 mandates and help contribute to the solutions of the city's contamination problem. Currently, your household should have all 3 waste bins that include the landfill, recycling, and organic or green waste bin as part of your garbage pickup service bundle. But in case you don't, please contact Pleasanton Garbage Service, as it is important that you and your family have all 3 of these bins to avoid waste contamination. Having the correct bins significantly lowers the amount of waste contamination buildup in our homes, and in doing so, we protect Pleasanton Garbage Service workers who need to hand sort our disposed waste. We've included some links on the slides through the blue chains, in a sense, and they offer free resources for bin implementation for local residents in Pleasanton. By doing this, you can also help the City of Pleasanton avoid non-compliance fines that will come into effect with the implementation of SB 1383 in 2022. It is important to always shop responsibly as well. Make a conscious effort to not only buy what you need and the amount of items that you know your family will be able to finish. Following shopping lists can be a great way to reduce excess purchasing and cutting down on the amount of unused food products in your home. In addition, when purchasing items, whether food products or other supplies, try to think about how you are shopping sustainably. As much as possible, try to buy products that are packaged using biodegradable materials or materials that can be easily decomposed, or plastics 1 through 7 that are not soft bags that are acceptable in Pleasanton recycling facilities. Next slide.
Okay. We have also included a link for sustainable packaging habits and guidelines. Small efforts such as buying from brands that use eco-friendly packaging and reducing your food waste from grocery stores can have a big impact on the waste contamination issue throughout California. Seeking out restaurants and businesses that make efforts to become sustainable is also a great way to contribute to the solution of waste buildup. You can make a huge impact by teaching your friends and families about effective waste sorting habits. Part of the SB 13 mandates is for businesses to provide education to tenants and employees on how to ensure that waste does not become contaminated. You may be able to ask your landlords or refer to businesses for tips as well. We have linked some outreach materials and posters that could be useful below, on the slide. As a reminder, Stop Waste and Pleasanton Garbage Service have information on their websites, and they are willing to provide assistance if you may need any. Next slide, please.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen once more, and we're going to do a quick demo of the Pleasanton Garbage Service website. Okay, so the Pleasanton Garbage Service website is another really helpful resource that can help residents in Pleasanton and also any commercial businesses. So if we look on the site, at the top of their header, they have an FAQ page, which can be really helpful for commercial businesses, but there are also a couple of questions on here that can be helpful to us as residents. So for example, this question says, what do I do with my used household batteries and old cell phones? So like we mentioned a little bit in the presentation, the website says that single-family residential customers can recycle their household batteries and cell phones by putting them in the plastic bag and then on top of the recycling bin. So there are a lot of helpful questions on here that you can feel free to scroll through on your own as well. And then if we go over to the residential tab, there are single-family residential, multifamily residential, and service rates. So for example, I'll just select multifamily residential, and then it gives you 3 options to look at garbage, recycling, or organics. So I'll just look at the recycling one for now. And so if you scroll down on this page, it gives you a comprehensive list of everything that can go into the recycling bin in Pleasanton and be collected as curbside pickup. So for example, there's newspapers, there's detergent containers, plastic milk containers, paper bags, and so on. So this is a really helpful place if you want to find out specific things that can go into each bin in addition to the resource app that we talked about earlier. And then further down the page, there's also other free resources that the Pleasanton Garbage Service provides that can be really helpful in sorting correctly. So they have a mixed recycling poster, decals, infographics, and if we look at this recycling poster, it might be very helpful to print it out and maybe put it on your refrigerator or right above your recycling bin so you can reference it every time when you're taking out the trash and you know exactly which materials can go into which bin. And we can go back to the other presentation. Yep, next slide, please. Okay, so basically, you might be wondering what the Go Green Initiative's role is in all of this. So this summer, Pleasanton's Go Green Initiative interns spread awareness about correct waste sorting, where our waste goes after we throw it away, and how the trash produced directly impacts the city of Pleasanton. We did this by making a social media toolkit for the 5-week waste challenge that occurs between World Food Day and America Recycles Day. And the toolkit includes various templates for Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for businesses in Pleasanton to post on their social media platforms to spread awareness about Senate Bill 1383 and proper waste sorting guidelines. We also made deliverables such as flyers and door hangers around the same subjects. And these are going to be handed out to residents and will be used by the City of Pleasanton, Pleasanton Unified School District, and the Pleasanton Garbage Service. And we hope that this material will really engage residents and businesses to change their habits in order to comply with SB 1383. And another part of our internship was executing community presentations. So the Go Green interns presented multiple community presentations to various audiences throughout Pleasanton about SB 1383, its impacts, and how to correctly sort our waste. We also have the local leaders of the 21st Century Clubs participating in this effort. So Sonika, Julianne, Aryan, and Smyra are all officers in the Amador Club, and I am an officer in the Foothill Club, and so is Manya. And this year, we will be especially focusing on SB 1383. And we have a community outreach project plan with the City of Pleasanton to continue spreading awareness about SB 1383 compliance and execute some of the projects that we were making during the internship. We're also going to be working with the Pleasanton Schools green teams to ensure proper sorting on their campuses. Ongoing community education is a key part of making sure that everyone in our Pleasanton community is aware of SB 1383, and that is why the local leaders clubs at both of the schools are prioritizing educating our members and Pleasanton residents. We're also planning on training the next generation of youth leadership, meaning we're going to be visiting elementary schools and middle schools to teach them how to properly sort, so that they too can move Pleasanton towards becoming a more environmentally responsible and conscious city. Next slide, please. So over the course of the internship, we've all had an opportunity to participate in various community presentations and the farmers market booth. And many of us have been and currently are involved in our school's green teams and local leaders clubs. So specifically, Foothill and Amador, our green teams are working on organizing bin monitoring by student volunteers and keeping track of our waste collection data in order to find areas of improvement for our schools. And Arian has created a really excellent app that the green teams throughout the district will be able to use to input their data and figure out how full the bins are every week. So I'll pass it on to him to explain a little bit more about his app.
Yeah, so essentially the app that I created enables sort of users to input the amount of waste that they produce. Everyone sets up like a quick profile detailing like how their house is set up or how their school is set up. So you can input like the size of your bins just so you can get a general guideline of how much waste you produce. Then you can use it to input and track the amount of waste that you're producing. And then the app will take that data, analyze it, and then tell you first how much waste you're producing, then point you to where that waste is sort of coming from. So you can figure out, oh, most of my waste is, for example, coming from the family room rather than like the personal room. And you can also use that data and reference it. This is a developing feature, but you can reference it with updating guidelines. For example, SB 1383, a new feature that's going to be rolled out is going to be taking your data, analyzing it with SB 1383 guidelines, and then telling users whether they're currently complying or not complying with SB 1383 guidelines. So yeah, the app is currently being used within the green teams in Pleasanton USD, and then there are I'm also developing features to expand it residentially so that more people will be able to use it, start tracking their waste, and overall reducing the amount that they produce. So yeah.
So here we have some more resources provided for you regarding some of the key points of our presentation. We have additional information on how to set up a 3-bin system, the resource app for guidance on how to dispose of waste in Pleasanton, SB 1383, the goals and achievements of the Go Green Initiative, and much more. Next slide, please. If you'd like to learn more, we've compiled multiple links and resources where you can watch videos, read articles, and more. Scan the QR code or type the link above it to take you to the resources you've seen in this presentation. In addition, if you'd like to find out more about the Go Green Initiative's programs, please follow us on our social medias using the handles provided on this slide. Next slide, please. Thank you for listening to our presentation. We hope that you can apply all of this information in the future. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer them now.
Okay, so we did get quite a bit of conversation in the chat. I'll do my best to get to everyone's question. So I do know we have a townhome green bin question where there's no room for a green bin. So, or like they've never been offered a green bin. So I don't know that answer, but if anyone on the team knows it or Jill knows the answer to that, that'd be amazing to get an answer for these people.
Thanks, Samira. I'm wondering if Mallory, when you had Pleasanton Garbage Services website up a moment ago, if you would be able to put that back up for us. Hira, you took us to multifamily dwellings and you took us to recycle. Could you take us to organics? Because that's what we need to look at. Could we do that real quick?
Sure.
Awesome. Now, I will say this while we're getting that up. If you have never been offered a green bin, you can still get one. That is something that every Pleasanton resident is entitled to. That's part of the city's franchise agreement. And Z. Laura, feel free to hop in anytime because she's at the vortex of all of this. And Pleasanton Garbage's website, let's see here. So scroll up just a smidge for us. There we go. So multifamily residential organics. This could be townhomes, this could be high density, this could be apartments. But if you see right there in the middle, if you have more questions about either what goes in those bins or how to get those bins, they don't give you in-home bins. Nobody gets like a bin for underneath the kitchen sink anymore. That's something that you would need to either acquire yourself or just use a paper bag. But in terms of the bin that they come and pick up every week, you do get that. Now, if you live in an apartment building and you have a dumpster area, or if your townhome or condo neighborhood has a central area where you take your waste from your home and it's like a enclosed area, if there's no green waste container there, once again, the first step would be contacting your landlord because they're required to offer that. The second step could be talking to Pleasanton Garbage Service. They may be able to tell you that it's on the way or that your landlord has already done this, but starting with your landlord is an important first step. Now, I did see some information in the chat about, you know, we have to keep our bins on our patio and there's just not a lot of room for that. Here's the situation. Because your bins are picked up by a machine, not a person. They're picked up by, you know, a truck with a machine that dumps your bins in. There has to be a bin in order for that, your green waste, to be taken by Pleasanton Garbage Service. But they have different sizes. So they're not always a 96-gallon tote. And in fact, you can even get different sizes of recycling and trash cans as well. So again, talk to Pleasanton Garbage Service. There may be some options. If you have a 96-gallon, a very large trash or recycling container, and you're not filling it up to capacity every week, perhaps you could get a smaller one of those bins and a smaller green waste bin and have enough room for it. But anybody want to unmute if you have any other questions on that?
Yeah, hi, it's Z. Laura from the city of Pleasanton. I wanted to say that yes, everything Jill has mentioned is absolutely right. And we are working with Pleasanton Garbage Service to bring all of the residents and the multifamily units, you know, into compliance by the deadline. So that's part of the work we're doing behind the scenes. But in the meantime, if you're aware of, you know, a missing service, the green bin, the blue bin, whichever, please do contact Pleasanton Garbage Service because they are in the process of working on that. But notification would help the process for sure.
And I just wanted to mention that if anyone is worried about the compost smelling in their apartment, because I know apartments are smaller, not exactly very much air circulation in a smaller space. So you can buy smaller compost bins that have charcoal filters, which will help block the smell. Okay, moving on to the next questions. From Susanna, a question for plastic toiletry bottles, for like the ones with the pump. Does the bottle pump need to be removed for recycling? And if I do not clean out the leftover shampoo or lotion, is that okay to be recycled?
Students, you know this. This is a softball. Come on now. Come on.
I will take this one. So the shampoo or lotion does need to be cleaned out because our all of our recyclables have to be dry and clean. And then as for the bottle pump, I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that they are recyclable. But I would check on the resource app.
Good answer. And way to be brave, Samira. What other questions do you guys have?
I think there is a suggestion from Michael. Maybe when bins are examined for compliance, the homes that are in compliance can have a small sign stuck in their lawn or somewhere near their home showing that they are an expert waste sorter. And the non-compliant neighbors will see it and want to do a better job of sorting themselves. I think that's a great idea and a great way to show respect for not only our garbage workers, but respect for our community and the environment. And it's very similar to what we do during the drought. Like the brown lawn is a badge of honor. So something similar. And I think that is it for the questions. If they keep popping up, I will read them aloud. And as always, if you want to, please unmute.
This is Susanna again. Thank you so much, students and adults, for this wonderful presentation. I just had a follow-up question about the toiletry lotion shampoo bottle clean out. I know that, the state of California is in a drought. Any recommendations on whether we really should be using water to clean out not only toiletry bottles, but like tin cans, things like that? Otherwise, I've been throwing those things in the trash because I feel like our water is so valuable right now. Thank you.
I think a good suggestion for that is while your shower, if you really are crazy about water conservation, which I hope you are, while your shower is heating up, there's all this cold water running into the drain. That's clean water. Maybe you can use a bucket, save some of that, and then when you have shampoo bottles or cans from your daily cooking, you can wash them in there, or align this water collection with the whenever you have to wash the bottles. That's just one idea, and I'm sure there's plenty of other creative ideas to conserve water while also making sure our waste is properly sorted.
Yeah, unfortunately, it can be difficult kind of trying to balance like the trade-offs that come with trying to be environmentally conscious one way while also trying to conserve water. And I would say right now, timely, because of the way that the water is more valuable, I would say you would you're kind of doing the right thing where you're just being more water conscious and throwing those things in the trash, and just kind of focusing on the recyclables that don't have to be cleaned and dried, or just honestly just using even just a couple, just a little bit of less water on those items will save water. So you could also just try to use less water to clean and dry those things too, and them.
Question regarding Amazon packaging, is that recyclable?
The soft packaging inside, like the cushions, is not, unfortunately. It does get stuck in our machinery, but if you collect that, you can get it specially picked up to be taken to a facility that can recycle it. It's not that it isn't recyclable, just not at Pleasanton's facilities. And then as for the cardboard, that is recyclable as long as it's clean, grease-free, not wet. Or if it did get wet, hopefully it's dried.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, if not, we can wrap up the presentation.
All right, well, thanks so much to our student presenters, and thanks so much for everyone attending tonight. Sorting our waste at home is something that we can all do, to make an impact on our personal climate impact. So thanks so much for attending it and taking notice to this. So I'll go ahead and pass it back over to Julian from the city to wrap up.
Yes, excuse me, thank you. I appreciate everyone for attending. To our guests, to our city representative, to GGI, both Jill Buck, the CEO, and her staff, Mallory, and her interns, Thank you for coming. Community ed is great. Like, this is exactly what community ed is supposed to be. We're learning. You're looking at people who may be your neighbors, like really be your neighbors, or you're looking to people that are on the other side of Pleasanton, and we're all coming here for some common goals and shared interests. And that's just for us and our futures, making sure that we're able to participate in it, and participating in these kind of ensures that. So yet again, tip of the hat to the student interns and GGI for doing a lot of the great work. The city can't do everything, and it's with these partnerships and collaborations and community interest that we're able to do these sorts of things. So keep on the lookout for more community education events. Go visit gogreeninitiative.org. And again, thank you for participating. We will have some community education workshops coming up in the spring. So come back to pleasantonfund.com to check those out. And that wraps it up. Again, I appreciate everyone for coming.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good job.